finance management business partners.
Yep.
FMBPs, they're called, right? Specifically in tech and startups. We've got a ton of stuff to go through, financial analysis courses, articles on unit economics,
Yep.
budgeting, forecasting, all that good stuff.
It's interesting, this whole FMBP thing, they're not just back office number crunchers, right? We're talking about people who are really strategic advisors embedded in these tech teams, helping them grow and innovate.
So they're kind of like, what, bilingual?
Mm.
Speaking both finance and tech, making sure everyone understands each other.
Exactly. Translating, so to speak. So you have these engineers building all this cool stuff, but maybe they're not thinking about things like customer acquisition costs or the lifetime value of a user. That's where the FMVP comes in.
Yeah, it seems like that's getting more and more crucial, right? Especially with all the talk about burn rates and runways, a whole different world compared to like traditional industries.
Mm. Absolutely. And one of the financial analysis courses we have here, it really highlights that. Tech companies, especially startups, they live in this world of crazy fast growth, subscription models, intangible assets. It's wild. You need a really specific set of financial skills to navigate it.
Okay, so we get it. FMVPs are important, but let's get practical here. What are they actually doing day to day? Is it all just spreadsheets and financial statements?
Well, yeah, there's definitely some of that, of course, but it's a lot more dynamic than you might think. One key thing is analysis, really deep dives, into financial statements, but also stuff like unit economics, looking for trends, red flags, anything that tells a story about how the product or service is doing financially. It's kind of like detective work, but with numbers.
So like if a SaaS company has a high customer churn rate, the FMBP would be figuring out why people are leaving and what to do about it.
Exactly, not just flagging the problem. They analyze data, look for patterns, try to get to the root of it. Is it pricing, missing features? Are competitors doing something better? They uncover those insights. And then, super important, communicate it all to the product team in a way they can actually use.
That makes sense. Not just identifying problems, but finding solutions. Solutions that fit the product strategy and the bigger business goals.
Mm.
What else is on their plate?
Well, forecasting and budgeting is a big one. Building financial models to predict how things will go. Basically creating a roadmap for the product teams. So, say you're building a new software project. In the early stages, how much can you actually spend? Where should those resources go to get the biggest impact? The FMBP helps answer those questions.
Right. You can't just throw money at a problem and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Especially in a startup where resources are tight.
Exactly. You need a solid plan, and that's where the FMBP comes in. Then there's investment appraisal, which is all about evaluating new initiatives, figuring out if they make sense financially. It's not just about potential return on investment, though. It's about understanding the risks involved, too.
So if a company's thinking about investing in, say, AI or blockchain, the FMBP would be the voice of reason. Hold on. What could go wrong?
Exactly. Balancing the excitement of innovation with financial reality. And of course, all of this requires a lot of communication and collaboration. The FMBP needs to translate complex stuff for non-finance folks, build relationships with product managers, really become a trusted advisor across all teams.
That sounds like a pretty tough gig. You need hard skills and soft skills, the whole package. How does someone even become an FMBP? Especially in this tech and startup world, what's the secret sauce?
That's $1 million question. First, you need a solid financial foundation. We're talking accounting, financial reporting, modeling. That's the starting point.
So you got to be comfortable with those financial statements.
Oh.
All those numbers and jargon.
Yeah, you got to speak the language of finance. But that's just the beginning. Tech industry knowledge is crucial too. You need to understand how tech businesses work, the challenges they face. Imagine trying to analyze different subscription tiers for a SaaS company without understanding recurring revenue or customer lifetime value.
Right, you'd be totally lost.
Then, of course, analytical skills are super important. Data is king in tech. FMBPs need to be masters of Excel, dashboards, all those data tools, pulling insights from mountains of data and making them actionable.
But it's not all about the numbers, right? We talked about communication and collaboration. Those soft skills are pretty key too, it seems like.
Absolutely. Imagine pitching a complex financial plan to a room full of engineers. You can't just throw spreadsheets at them and expect them to get it.
You need to tell a story,
Yeah.
right? Make it engaging. Show them how the numbers relate to the product they're building.
Exactly. Paint a picture of how the financials impact their work and their company's success. It's about being a storyteller as much as a financial analyst.
So the ideal FMBP in tech is this blend of financial expertise, tech savviness, analytical skills, and top-notch communication skills. Sounds like a tall order.
It is, but it's a fascinating role, incredibly impactful.
Yeah, and we've really just scratched the surface here. There's so much more to explore about this role. But first, I'm going to take a quick pause, gather our thoughts, get ready for the next part of our deep dive. We'll be back in a flash with even more insights. Into the world of the finance management business partner.
You know, going through all this stuff, it really hit me how adaptable FMBPs need to be. Their role can change so much, depending on the company, how big it is, even the tech they're working with.
Yeah, that makes sense. A tiny startup is going to have different financial needs than, like, Google.
Totally. Think about it. In a brand new startup, the FMBP might be super involved in fundraising, working with the founders to pitch to investors, get that early money. Laser focus on cash flow, making sure they don't run out too quickly.
Keeping those dreams alive, huh? Making sure they don't crash and burn before they even take off.
Yeah. Exactly. But then as the company grows up, so to speak, the FMBP's role changes too. They might get more strategic, focusing on scaling up, pricing strategies, maybe even looking at acquisitions.
So they kind of grow along with the company, facing new challenges as things evolve.
Exactly. And it's not just about size either. The type of tech they're working with matters too. Like in a SAAS company, the FMBP is going to be all over those subscription metrics. Churn rate, customer lifetime value, all those fun acronyms.
Speaking the language of recurring revenue, right? Making sure they're acquiring customers in a way that makes sense financially.
Exactly. But then you have a company building hardware. Suddenly you're talking about manufacturing costs, supply chains, inventory. It's a whole different ballgame.
So you need to understand finance A&D, the specific industry, and tech. Makes sense. Speaking of finance knowledge, those financial analysis courses we mentioned, they seem like a good foundation for someone wanting to get into this field.
Definitely. Let's dig into those a bit.
Yeah, what are some key things they cover? Is it just basic accounting, or do they go deeper?
They start with the fundamentals for sure. Double entry accounting, balance sheets, income statements, cash flow statements, the building blocks.
ABCs of finance. Got to know those first.
Right. But then they build on that. They get into financial ratios, which are super powerful for understanding a company's performance.
Ratios always kind of confuse me. What are they exactly, and why are they so important?
Think of them like financial snapshots. They let you compare different parts of the financials and reveal stuff you might not see just looking at the raw numbers.
So instead of just seeing, like, how much profit a company made, you use a ratio to compare that profit to their revenue or their assets.
Exactly. And there are different types, each with a specific purpose. Profitability ratios tell you how efficiently they're making money. Liquidity ratios show if they can pay their short-term bills. Solvency ratios look at long-term financial stability.
So the FMBP uses these ratios to get a full picture of the company's health, and then use that to make recommendations.
Right. But it's not just about calculating them. It's about interpreting them, understanding the context, spotting trends, identifying potential problems.
So you need critical thinking, not just number crunching.
Absolutely. And these courses really emphasize that. They teach you to think critically about the numbers, draw meaningful insights.
Not just what the numbers say, but what they mean for the business.
Exactly. And they go even deeper, introducing valuation techniques like discounted cash flow analysis, which is used to figure out how much a company is actually worth.
So if a company's thinking about an acquisition or going public, the FMBP would use this to figure out a fair price.
That's one use, yeah. It's basically forecasting future cash flows, considering the time value of money, and calculating the present value of those future earnings.
Sounds complicated.
It can be, but the courses break it down. They cover other valuation methods too, like the comparables method, looking at how similar companies are valued.
So if you're trying to value a startup, you might look at how much other startups in the same industry have been sold for.
Exactly. Finding benchmarks, gathering data to support your valuation.
Man, all this talk about financial analysis.
The FMBP shouldn't be the bad guy from finance, but a trusted advisor helping the product team navigate the financial stuff and achieve their goals in a sustainable way.
A partner, not a police officer.
Exactly. And speaking of problem solving, there's another big part of the FMBP role, risk management.
Oh, right, because in tech and startups, there's always risk, especially with new tech, unproven business models. Everything's changing so fast.
Absolutely. So many unknowns. A good FMBP needs to be able to spot, assess, and mitigate those risks, looking at everything from cash flow and debt to market volatility and competition.
So it's not just about focusing on the best case scenario, the hockey stick growth, the billion-dollar valuations. You got to be realistic about what could go wrong.
Exactly. Balancing risk and reward, making sure the company is taking calculated risks, ones that align with their goals, but also protecting themselves from unnecessary financial damage. They might recommend things like diversifying revenue streams, building up cash reserves, hedging against currency fluctuations, all to minimize the impact of potential problems.
Like a financial navigator, guiding the ship through calm and stormy seas.
Perfect analogy. And it shows how important this role is, especially in the unpredictable world of tech and startups.
Well, I think we've done a pretty deep dive here into the world of the finance management business partner. We've covered a lot, from the technical skills and financial knowledge to collaboration, communication, risk management. It's been really eye-opening.
It has. Lots for our listeners to think about, whether they want to be FMBPs or they're already in finance or just curious about this role.
Definitely. And one thing that stuck with me, this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about people, relationships, being a strategic partner, a trusted advisor. It's about understanding that finance is about enabling growth, innovation, and ultimately success.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, learning about finance never stops. There's always more to learn, new skills to develop, new ways to use your knowledge to make a difference.
So to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep pushing the boundaries. Maybe you'll be the next FMBP guiding a tech company to unicorn status.
Now that's a goal. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep those spreadsheets sharp.
And keep those financial fires burning.